Hello everybody and welcome to episode number 6 of the Veilcast. I'm Ziz and today we are going to be talking about a whole bunch of random stuff. We're talking about the cube system where you can build buildings in the game and blow them up. Kind of like Minecraft but way cooler. We're also talking about new fan sites and the BSC UI, which I don't know how interesting that's going to be because I don't know how to make UIs, but I'm really excited for it. It could be really cool. Joining me as always is Alistair and Velik. How you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Doing good? Alistair, you doing good?
I'm great, actually. Yeah.
Good.
It's the first weekend where I have my eyes back, so I'm very happy.
You can see he's not blind.
It looked much better.
He's been healed.
I'm pretty much normal now. So yeah, and it's been fun messing around with all the Camelot Unchained and Crowfall stuff on last week. So
yeah, lots of stuff coming up. And joining us, first time, fellow guildmate, Zinter the Casual. How you doing, buddy?
Doing very good. How are you?
Doing good. You got lots of awesome stuff. Let's jump right in. I want to show everybody on stream here what we're talking about. We're going to start with the new fan site that's going to be going up. You're still working on it. Let's check this out here. Realms Unchained. Check this bad boy out. New fan site, Camelot Unchained. You've been working on this, right, Zinter? Tell us all about it.
All right, so it's been a couple weeks working, possibly even a little over a month. It's been a lot of work, and it's something that what I wanted to do was to get a great circulation of opinions from not only myself but just people who have been in the MMO industry for such a long time. And well, since we've put so much into Camelot Unchained, well, why not invest it all into a fan site? I've always wanted to do something like this. I don't know if people way back in the day, I think it was the VN boards and DAOC and the Warhammer Alliance boards for Warhammer, and we just had a blast on them. It was a fan site, and the community I felt like it was really born there, and I'm looking to try to recreate something like that for Camelot Unchained.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, just a community, a place for everybody. It doesn't matter what guild you're in, you're interested in Camelot Unchained, you can check us out. What kind of stuff can we see on this fan site? You're gonna have articles and videos. What will we see on the website?
Well, the first thing is obviously going to be ourselves. Right at the top, there's going to be the newest episode of Veilcast every week, which we're going to highlight for everyone, make it nice and easy to find. Other than that, there's going to be tons and tons of articles, and these articles can range from stuff that the devs have posted, if you're just looking for a quick update or an easy way to find it, or some things that are just floating around in, one of our minds, something that we feel passionate about writing about. To give an example, something I've been working on, and it's not posted yet, is a Camelot Unchained and Crowfall comparison document where we can kind of go over everything, and people can comment on them on the site and kind of build a discussion around it with in a bit more of an open environment. Not that the CSE devs are strict or anything, but it's you know what I mean.
Yeah, the forums for the Camelot Unchained are kind of closed to the backers, right? So There are people out there who are interested in Camelot Unchained, who have been following it, who are curious about it, obviously about the stuff that is non-NDA breaking, and they just don't have anywhere to be. I mean, to us, we don't feel that need because we're backers. We've been, following this game for months, year now. But it's cool that it opens up a portal for people who are just interested and want to see what the game is about before they invest anything in it. So I mean, that's going to be great too.
And that's one of the coolest parts why we're talking about on the show is that it's a community thing too. I mean, a lot of people from our guild are starting it, but Zinter, you're going to have people from other guilds can get involved, right? There's forums, there's articles you can read, but you can also, can they submit? Can people put in ideas and articles and videos they've done as well?
Absolutely. We're still tweaking here or there. This is my first time doing anything like this, so I'd ask everyone to bear with me while I try to put it all together. But the reality is, once we're ready to go, which is just about now, and this not to discourage anyone from writing because we are posting them everything as we speak. Anyone who has an idea, a thought bubble while you're outside smoking a cigarette at work or something, anything where you feel passionate about it, you want to write about it, you can send it in to us and we will post it there for you. We'll have our own little section for fan creations, stuff like that. What else was cool about the site, and you touched on it for a second, is people can create their own guilds or clans. They call it clans on the site, but a guild, a clan, same. It's all going to be the same thing. And a user would message me or one of the other administrators. They would be bumped up to a particular position, and they could start a clan. And you could have all of your guild, create an account, join the clan, and everyone can kind of be known. And eventually there's neat little inner workings in the system where you could set up different matches, or things like unique little things like that add a nice bit of chunk to the site, something that you could do on it besides just articles, besides just
Sure.
that type of stuff.
Sure. Awesome. Yeah, lots of stuff. I mean, like I said, you're just getting started, and it's going to more and more, and we want to get as many people from all over. So if you're interested, if you like the game, obviously, if you're watching this, hopefully you do. I don't know how you'd be watching. You want to write articles, whatever it is, send them in. You can do it all through realmsunchained.com. We even have, I think, did I see Velik on there? You got an article already?
Yeah, I'm one of the writers. Alistair is one of the writers. And
they let all sort of scrubs on there, I guess.
Yeah, I've got a news article in there and a blog post that I wrote up and put on there about some RP stuff and some of the foundational principles. And speaking of RP, that's actually one of my favorite things about the site when it's live and everything, since it's open to the entire community, not just the backers. Also, since we are moderating the forums, we have a little bit more control over the types of content and the content areas, and it actually has a full, RP section so that everyone, for the role players that are out there, they can, get on there and get involved and actually make character profiles and some RP topics and stuff, which I always find is a big source of activity for MMO communities, depending on the game, pre-launch.
Yeah, and that's a good point, too. I just thought of is that they're not particularly strict on the forums or anything, but, I mean, they're busy making a game, so they don't like a lot of stuff on there. So a lot of stuff off topic, talking about other games, comparison. There's a lot of stuff that really you don't talk about on the forums, and so that's all stuff we can do here. We can compare to other games. We can RP, all sorts of stuff. I'm really excited. Let's transition into our next point. We're actually going to watch part of the BSC, batshit crazy, about the UI, which maybe some people might think, just UI, whatever. But there's actually some really cool stuff we want to check out on this. So let me go ahead and pull that up, and we'll take a look here.
And when we talked about this during the Kickstarter, one of the goals that we laid out for our user interface was that we were going to be, building it out of the web. Our entire UI toolkit is a full copy of the Chromium browser, just dropped in and rendering snippets of web pages using HTML5 and JavaScript over the client. And there were a couple of reasons we did that. I mean, number one, just a huge amount of work has gone into optimizing the UI rendering in web browsers that we don't have to do ourselves. But the bigger one was that it opened it up to a lot of people in the community. There's no new language you have to learn how to create UI mods for our game. It's just web pages, really. And we hadn't truly delivered on that goal over the last year, and that was basically a lack of manpower. But Bryce is
manpower.
Exactly. And he's done a lot of really good work that we're going to talk about here. But the first thing I do want to announce is that we really did want to make our UI moddable and hackable by everyone in the community. And towards that end, I want to announce that we are open sourcing it on GitHub. Just the whole thing, all the code, all the HTML, all the little icons and things bundled up, and that's going to be right there where you can download it.
So what we're talking about is that you can put in-game chat into like a website, right? Like you can just go on. Isn't that awesome? Don't you guys think that's cool?
That is really cool. Especially, I think it's really good for some certain fan sites and everything, because there's inevitably one or two fan sites that have like their own guild and stuff.
Yeah.
And they can have like their own chat channel maybe that is embedded in the website, which is really cool. I think it's especially good for guilds, because then you can communicate with your guild mates. You can have it embedded in your guild website if you have a guild website. Or I think they also mentioned an app, so you have like cell phone app with in-game chat, and you can go and be like, oh, let's see what my guild's talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought that would be cool. Like wherever you're at, you're on the bus on the way wherever, right?
Yes, and I think they always have like a little Ventrilo or TeamSpeak embedding things that you can put on the website and everything. And while that's cool, just so people see how many people you have on TeamSpeak, it's a sound-based application, and you can't really interact with those people. You can just see, oh, look, there are 10 people logged onto my TeamSpeak today. Oh, cool. But this actually allows people to interact and talk to each other. And make sure that here's the scuba making some pictures. Make sure that you can make sure that that an event's going on. If you can't be at the event, maybe you can just be on the chat. For guild leaders and community management point of view, this is great. I imagine one day where I can't be there, I can't play, or I'm not at home for whatever reason, I can log on to the chat through my cell phone and then see, hey guys, let's start this. Send everybody send the invites, and you're like there. Just people feel that if they have any questions, if they want to ask you about any rules or anything, you can
maybe you've done the encounter. I mean, there's no PvE in the game, but like there's stuff that, hey, have you ever done this? Have you killed this mob? Have you fought these people? You're not in game. You're sitting on the couch. You're in an airport. Whatever it is. Oh yeah, I did this. Just chatting right away. I mean, that's so cool to have that option. Or hey, I'll be home in 10 minutes. Invite me to the group. Right? Wait for you. Like, there's so many cool.
Imagine being at work. You're in the middle of your work day, and I'm just gonna check chat real quick. And you pull it up, and somebody trashed our guild keep.
Right? Seriously.
I'm so mad, and I'm going to get on as soon as I get home.
What are you going to tell your boss? I got to go home. They're taking our keep, right?
But seriously, I don't feel good. I don't feel good, and you start having a convulsion or something.
Right? I mean, it sounds silly, but like if there's this huge keep that you've been fighting with for months, this guild you've been fighting with for months, and they're attacking your keep that you've spent months building up, like bringing that all together, like I think that's going to be so cool. In chat, they're talking about how a lot of this stuff is already available. They put it up on GitHub. You can watch the video on their YouTube and on their website. Let's also talk not just about the cool feature of having chat on your website, but this game and the developers here for Camelot Unchained seem really open with the UI, with add-ons, as long as it doesn't let you cheat on the game, right? And let's compare it to a game that we've all played, Elder Scrolls Online. And I try not to talk about it, but this is so easy. It's so obvious. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between those games, right? Games where it's difficult, where they don't really support it, and other games like maybe World of Warcraft where there's 10,000 mods out there. This helps the game, right? Helps build community, keeps people coming back. Like that's a big bonus for the game, right?
Yeah, even people that don't make mods, just to have the mods to be able to use for all sorts of things, to be able to have them, to improve your group, forming ability, be able to just RP mods. When I was every time I go and play WoW, there's like 2 or 3 different roleplay mods that I go and install just because they're awesome. I mean, they completely enrich the experience, and the way they're doing this with the mods, so you can actually the UI, so that you can edit it in the browser. I mean, you don't even necessarily need a specific program to do it. You can just do it like in the browser. You can go in, edit everything. They already have it up before the game's even out, so you can edit it. And the tools they're using to edit it, I could do it. I'm not a modder, but if I went and learned some more JavaScript than I currently have, I could feasibly just go in and do it. I think that's pretty cool. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's definitely cool. I've always kind of wanted mod, but I have done none of that web Java, any of that stuff. But they pretty much made it as easy and as accessible as possible, which is good. It's good for the game. It's good for the community. It's good for modders. It just helps everybody, right? I guess the only downside... go ahead, Alistair. What were you going to say?
No, I just think that UI mods add a layer of customization that is completely optional, so it doesn't affect the people who actually don't do it. Like Velik was saying, you wanna have an add-on that where you can inspect a player, and instead of just seeing his gear, you kind of see his RP profile. There's a new tab into his interface where you can add and save a roleplay profile. This is the kind of add-on that you have in WoW, right, Velik? And other things, obviously, so you mouse over this guy and you see, his name, his class, his guild on the tooltip, and then it also shows some roleplay information there. This kind of stuff, it doesn't affect whoever doesn't use it, and it's great because you can actually enrich your experience in the game a lot just with those things, or you can completely ignore it and the game is still there. So it also takes a load from the developers, right? Because they don't have to keep, they're requesting this now, let's make this. They're requesting this. If the community wants something, they can just go and do it. So giving some power to the players to design their own interface and build, facilitating tools and all that is very cool.
I think they even said if there's good add-ons, like they might steal them, right? Like they'll put it into the game if it's something so good. Yeah. Let me ask you though, Alistair, tagging onto that though, are you worried about what if there's add-ons? They're not going to have some where you push one button and it does it for you, but usually you run into a problem when there's add-ons that are almost playing the game. You got these Healbot add-ons, right? Macros and stuff. What about that? Because you have people who say, I don't want to add add-ons. It's not fair that they have an advantage over me.
Yes. Yeah, it will depend on what they enable, so like if they enable macros too, because that, macros have to be supported by the game too, so macros and add-ons are a completely different thing in WoW, for example. You can just build a macro without having no add-ons installed in your game. It's like you press ask and there's an option there, macros, right? Yeah. So you go in there and you build your macros. Yeah. So what the add-ons do is that they just use, in WoW, they just use this macro function to execute stuff for you, like Healbot and other add-ons that did that. But if there is no macro function in Camelot Unchained, which I think they shouldn't have such a thing, then, because especially macros are going to be especially complicated because of the ability creation system they have, right? So I think it would add a complication that they can go without. So if there's no macro support, there's no way to cast spells in sequence or anything, then add-ons cannot do that. Essentially, you can't create a UI that uses spells in a sequence. Unless they enable, I don't think they would. That would be just a bad idea. Obviously, we would see that on testing and tell them, but I'm worried about add-ons that make things too easy to the point where they make available information that no one would have available if they were playing the game on the normal interface. I'm worried about that. Yeah,
that's actually what I was going to mention, which I actually think can be a good thing depending on what information is accessible to the mods, because there are some people right now they seem to be going for a very clean graphic based interface. You have different colors and effects and things that show what's happening with the person or what they're doing, rather than giving you text going, he's stunned or whatever. So, but theoretically, depending on what information is available, somebody can make a mod that puts all that back into text, or makes little pop-ups with it in other forms that they can then get more information that perhaps other people can't get. To a certain degree, I think that's potentially good because it enables them to still make the game they want to, which is cleaner and not full of all this pop-up text that we get in some other games. But someone could potentially mod those things if they really want that kind of an interface. But I think Alex there does make a good point. There is a certain degree of that where it might give them an undue advantage.
Yeah, what about, too, a big part of this game we've talked about in the past is they're not giving you everything easy. They're not just handing it to you saying, this is the best skill, this does the most damage, this is how you do that. A lot of it's going to be trial and error, figuring out, playing the game. Hypothetically, couldn't you see down the road, or maybe really quickly, with people making it before the game comes out, an add-on that says, here's your highest DPS ability. And it lays it out in-game, combine these abilities, and here it is. And I know you could do that on websites already, but I guess my fear is that a lot of this game that we enjoy is kind of this old school feel, right? You go play it, you try it, you test it out, you kind of have to earn it yourself. I'm worried of how free this, add-on stuff, that might take it away. It might just kind of revert back to...
Well, at least for the higher damage ability aspect, you can already do that in the ability creator anyway, because you can go to the individual abilities and it tells you what the stats are, how much damage it does on average, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So you can really kind of already do that. At least for that
they could
one
make a more.
thing.
They could make an interface talent calculator essentially, right? But it's in game, right? So where you can, instead of actually going to the ability creator and creating stuff, you can do that on the interface first. But I don't see the value in that, to be honest. I don't see that changing anything, because I'm pretty sure that you can go into the ability creator, try to create an ability, and if you don't like the result in the end, you can just shut it off. Like, oh, I don't like this, and close it and not create the ability, right? I don't think it's going to cost anything for you to create the ability. At least they have not told us that it was going to cost anything. So you can always be theorizing with the ability creator. You don't need an interface to do that. Now, I would understand if they made a UI mod that would be like a ability creator assistant, where it kind of sets up the abilities for you, and then it says this is the best ability. But that, the amount of variables that would go in that, given the the amount of stats they have, the booms and bangs, the gear differences, the materials that might make your gear better for this or better for that, all this stuff that will affect your particular character. It's hard to build something with such an UI, such an AI actually, that will determine, oh, this is the best ability for you, because it's not just your class, it's not just your race, it's also your stats that you allocated, everything. So I mean, this is gonna have to be player based. I don't think there can be a UI mod that will do it for you.
And to be honest, even if they did something like that in-game, it would just be an in-game extension of what already exists on websites. People are already going to make guides and say, this is the best setup you can have to do this. It's going to exist anyway, and people are going to use them.
Yes.
So it would just be an in-game version of the same thing.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, I love how open it is. I love add-ons. I always download a ton because I want my screen to look the way I want it. I just know in other games there have been problems, and this game is maybe more open than any other game that we've seen. So there's a potential there could be more problems or not. But I'm excited. It's already out there. If you like UIs, if you're a modder, if you want to check it out, they already have stuff up on GitHub that you can already start messing with, even though there's an NDA. I'm not sure how that works, but let's get on. I want to talk about maybe the coolest thing we're going to talk about the whole episode, and that's the Cube system. It stands for, what is it, Camelot Unchained Building Environment, I think. We know already that you can build in Camelot Unchained. That's one of the coolest selling points. You can build your own castle, and people can destroy it and take parts of it back with them. And we finally got some actual screenshots. I want to show everybody here. There's a few screenshots they showed that they're using already. And here we are in game. This is building with Cube. They don't actually, unfortunately, show them building them. These are screenshots that players, not developers, not using fancy technology, in game, in the alpha, stuff they're making already. Also, Andrew Meggs, who's one of the developers, one of the co-founders of the game, he's already had streams where he's showing stuff that's more advanced than this, because I guess these screenshots are just with square blocks, kind of like Minecraft. He's already showing stuff he's done months ago, adding round parts, round pieces, round edges. But look at some of the stuff that people are building already with square pieces, right? I mean, that's amazing. I mean, either of you guys...
It's not, you can see that the textures are not polished. It's very simple in terms of texture and the face of the end building. But the skeleton is all there already, So textures are easy to update. They're not heavy. They're easy to just change, right? You can just, okay, now that we have the system up, put a texture there. So this is amazing. I mean, it's so much potential.
It looks so
architect. Good. Yes, I mean, I want to have an architect.
Architect Unchained, right?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you say that kind of as a joke, but honestly, that's true, because people can destroy it. So if you can build your building in a way that's more difficult to destroy, even after they destroy the outer building, maybe there's an inner building and the way it's angled is more difficult. There could be some really...
Yeah, you could make some real fortifications, something that is really hard to destroy just by using smart smart play that for us it's like, oh, this is super smart, but for an engineer it's like, oh, they used this on the first century because they studied it.
Right.
They know about it. It's their profession, right? So I mean, this is going to be like Inception, man. We need an architect.
We do.
Well, there's a lot of other factors I think goes into it for guilds as well, like not just creating it, but then you go, okay, well maybe we want all of our guild keeps to have the same color scheme and material scheme.
Right.
So we go in there so they all look the same. So if we build one here, people know that's our thing. We might have, I don't know if they have like banners or things like that in there that guilds will be able to have. Would be cool, but you could have like something built in there to like to show the guild's name. Like I said, in Arthur We Trust, it might have the guild acronym in the wall or something somewhere, so that just guild recognition, so people can see them and go, that's their keep. It's been here for ages. They've been holding it. They've been fighting and defending it and everything. And
you can build a monument, right? There was a big fight on this place. Now we own it. Build a monument. Make a big statue that says, that's where the battle of whatever happened, just to show that you're a badass. Because that's the only reason why people built monuments back in the day, is to show power, right? I mean, you have a castle, you build a big statue of the king to show I'm the boss here, and I can afford to build this big statue. So if you want to mess with me, you're gonna have trouble, right? So that's the whole, it's a power statement. So I mean, if we had having that ability in this game, it's great, right? It adds another layer of immersion, another layer for roleplay, and also it's a very cool in-game mechanic for the PvP fights and destruction, etc.
And can you imagine if someone built a giant statue of Arthur? How much did too often the Vikings would want to smash that? They'd just be trying every day to bring that thing down.
Right, exactly, and it's the symbol, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is emergent gameplay. This is dynamic. I mean, they don't have to have developers spending months creating a quest that says go do this thing because it's important. Velik, like you said, we put a statue up that shows us stomping on the Tuatha's head, right? Because this is where we built. We beat you in this fight. That they're gonna come after it, right? So much gameplay.
Community generates the importance, right?
Yeah.
So the important places are important because the community made them important. So they actually have meaning to the people who are playing the game. It's not something, like you said, it's not a quest that the developer wrote and put the model there and said, care about this place because I want you to.
Right,
and
exactly.
then they have to design a bunch of mechanics and daily quests and all kinds of stuff to put in that area so that people actually go there. Otherwise, they're not going to leave the city, right? So that's how it goes in normal MMOs. But in Camelot Unchained, with the world being built by players, there could be a significant part of the map that people don't even care about because there's nothing there on this server. And then on this other server, one of the first keeps was built on that area, and there was a major fight. So it's a place that everybody wants to conquer all the time because conquering that place means you're good. It gives you a status. It says, oh, they own that area, so now we got to go take it from them, or they have a good good strategy, good they have numbers, whatever it is. So I mean, it community creates importance, and then it just flows in a natural human way where it doesn't require artificial development to take place. So
yeah, and there'll be these stories that you'll hear about from other servers that you've never been to, just like you're talking about, like did you hear about this thing that happened over here? And usually it's the quests are the same, right? It doesn't matter what server you're on, there's this quest, right? Here, stuff can happen that you've never heard of, you never thought of. I mean, I can imagine going around a corner and you're getting ready to attack something, and you see this giant building, and like you're almost like you're impressed, right? You're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I feel bad, I'm going to destroy it now, but
especially
good job.
If you switch servers. Especially if you switch servers, you're like, you're walking and then you're like, wow, this wasn't here. I never seen, on my server, this didn't exist. So this, it changes everything. And not only that, but over time, it might be that whoever built that castle moves on and then it gets, abandoned. So you can have some ruins, right, around the world. And I think they have a system to prevent that, right, to prevent ruins from taking over, like the veil storms are going to happen and stuff.
Yeah, I think they can eat away, and a lot of times, I mean, maybe there's a worry where it's like buildings would maybe just get left alone, right? Like, just forget about them, we'll move on to a new place. But these materials are going to have meaning. Like, if you don't want that building anymore, you can tear it down and use those materials for your next building. Or someone else can come and take them and use them for theirs, if they're in another alliance. Velek, are you a big builder? Are you Bob the Builder?
I love Minecraft.
Yeah?
I play a lot of Minecraft. I have been playing Minecraft for years, and periodically I take a break from it for like a year, and then I come back and start building a ton of stuff. And I always build huge towers and all kinds of crazy stuff. There's one thing about this cube building system with the RVR that I think is particularly interesting. I mean, it's pure speculation because we don't know exactly how it's going to work, but I assume big keeps don't just go up automatically. It takes a lot of resources carried over there to build them. So I assume you'll probably see the really big castles in the back lines. You won't see them up in the front lines because people will be killing them before you can build them. So I imagine you'll take an area, and once you've established your presence there and they can't come in and just attack, then you'll start building up these big keeps to make it like a defensive, really defensive area, so that it's hard for them to reclaim that zone, and you can push further in towards the middle of the puzzle of the RVR area. So in that regard, I can see people that do the building working on varying different projects. So the same guy won't put up the same castle all the time. He'll be like, oh, we've got the inner areas now, and I put up my huge castle. Well, I also designed this little outpost so that when we go into the middle to attack, I can throw up this little outpost that we can put together in like 20 minutes.
Right.
And then we can attack from there, and if we get pushed back, we can at least fall back to the outpost and have some kind of defenses there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Specialized buildings.
There will be quick buildings, like I said, specialized buildings that people know that they can build with little material and, not many builders and just fast, So you conquer this area and you just wipe the enemy group and you can build something on the time that they run back, right? You're like, okay, they're going to take about 15, 20 minutes to get back here. Let's put this up and defend it, because when they get here, they're not going to have their territory anymore. It's ours now, right? And then as they give up on attacking you, you can then start fortifying it and expand it, or just take it down and start from scratch with a bigger thing that takes longer, but it's much better. So, I mean, it is the potential in this. It's amazing. And like you were saying, people worried about, oh, this guy's just building this stuff here and taking up space and then abandoning it. That's just dumb, because building a building is not free. It takes material, it takes time, it's going to take resources. You can't just go in there with a bunch of, nothing and build it. So first, people are not going to build dumb buildings in areas that they know that they're going to get tore down, because that's just a waste of time, resources, and everything. Second, even if they do, they build something with the intention of, defending it, etc., but end up not having people to help them, or just, quit the game or whatever. Other people can go in there, and then if the enemy can go in there, destroy it, take the resources. Other people can go in there and take that building and start building over it. I mean, we don't know exactly how all the details are going to be worked out. I mean, they're going to have a very, very good system of permissions to build, permissions to modify. I don't know how land ownership is going to work, but they have to have some systems to support that. And if they do it right, there will never be, a dull moment in this building system. There will never be a useless building that everybody's like, oh, I wish this guy would come back to take it down. I mean, they need to have some system that will prevent that. And I hope, I trust CSC to actually know what they're doing in that regard.
Yeah, and I assume that you're not just going to see anybody making a building. I mean, especially like a big keep, I assume that's going to take a lot of resources. You're probably talking about like a whole guild or community bringing in resources and protecting caravans of resources to get them to the castle to even build it in the first place. So I hope that's going to restrict it to a certain degree. We won't see just one random person coming in going, I'm going to throw down a keep here and abandon it, and it doesn't matter because it's a little thing I put up that goes ha 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 and has written into the side of it, I'm a loser or something, because they're not going to have the protection to even do that in the first place. They're going to need a lot of different resources to come in there, and unless they make it like a tiny house, then maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many options here so many things that we talk about, and it's hard to get your mind around because it's such a shift from the way every other pretty much MMO works, right? Yeah. What is it in WoW? There's, I forget not a Rafi Basin. Well, yeah, there's garrisons, but there's a PvP battleground that's like 40 on 40, and you have to take the towers and kill them.
Valley.
Yeah, Ultrich Valley. Yeah. And half the time people don't care about these buildings. You have to go in there and stand in there, and then sometimes you forget, and it's like they're basically meaningless. Right? It's like you do it, you don't do it. But here in this game,
it's just a node, right? It's an objective node.
Right. But in Camelot Unchained, it's not just some random building you're trying to get some gold, but like there's a mine here, and we want this mine because it has ore that's going to give us the best swords. But to protect that mine, we need to build fortifications. And so everybody is interested in building these fortifications because they want what's in the mine, right? But not just buildings that are pointless. Having an advantage, having a tower where you can stand up and shoot arrows, you can shoot arrows farther, right? You can shoot farther. That right?
You can see the enemy coming from far
right.
away,
There's actual real benefits that you don't see in other games. You can't shoot farther in other games because you stand on a tower. Your fireball usually just fizzles out when it goes 20 meters, right? Here, you can actually have the curvature with physics, and with physics, you can shoot over the front line of tanks and hit the casters in the back, where if you're on the ground level, you're going to hit the tanks and not. You're right. There's so many things.
Yes, I mean it's really the combination of all Camelot Unchained elements that make it awesome, right?
Right.
I mean, no game has done the building plus RVR plus realistic physics together before. They might have done one or the other, but they have. I haven't seen any try to do the realistic physics because I don't think we even had the technology until some recent years, right?
Right.
But I mean, the fact that you have this realistic physics where you really see far, far away. We have seen that on last episode, right? You stand on top of the mountain and you see people casting spells, fighting, healing, a mile, 2 miles away from where you actually are. I mean, comparing relatively to the real life measure, right? So you see a lot of people over there, and so you can do that with buildings. You can control the environment. You can make this big tower where you can see over the horizon and see the enemies coming and have patrols and, attack them, put some siege up there that will, if they try to gather up close to your walls to attack you, you can harass them. So they're going to really need to have a serious attack come to your keep. You can have just a group of 10 people say, okay, guys, I have an hour. Let's go siege this keep. No, wait a minute. Sieging this keep is going to take resources for the siege. If we just walk in there, they have a big tower, they're just going to shoot us down. There is no way you can just quickly plan an attack like this, depending on the type of structure you're attempting to attack. You can probably do that to a small outpost, but the possibilities that this kind of combination gives, with the physics plus the building, and then makes the RVR so unpredictable and extremely realistic, extremely more realistic than any RVR and PvP that I've actually ever seen in the MMO scene, to be honest.
Definitely. And Velik, you talked about how you play some Minecraft. You play a bit of Minecraft. I know there's a lot of other things to do in Minecraft, but you can spend a lot of time building, right? Oh, yeah. So think of just how much free gameplay this is adding, right? It's not a quest you can finish in an hour or a dungeon you do for a few weeks. You could literally I could foresee people spending hundreds and thousands of hours building buildings because they're actually meaningful. It's pretty crazy. Let's talk about real quick. What kind of negatives are there to this sort of system, right? I mean, I'm excited for the game. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. At this point, it's kind of blocky looking. Reminds me a little bit of Minecraft, but they've already started adding rounded corners, which is good. But have either of you heard of TTP?
No.
TTP. I heard about it a long time ago. Back when they first started talking about EverQuest Landmark. I heard it on another show years ago. And in the gaming industry, especially with this sort of sandbox time, stands for time to penis. I kid you not.
I was going to say trolls.
I kid you not. If I swear to you, if you go into City State Entertainment, you go over to Crowfall, you go to EverQuest, any of these games where you can build buildings like this, you say TTP, it's time to penis. Because how long is it going to take? I know we said everybody's not going to build these giant buildings. How long is it going to take before this turns into something else?
Day one.
Yeah.
Day one, hour one, right? Like,
probably not hour one, but probably day one there's going to be a penis somewhere in RVR, and it's my sincere hope that whoever built it gets banned.
Like, I'm all for letting you build stuff, but, like, that's going to bug me. Like, I want to be immersed in my game, in this meaningful game. Like, that's going to tick me off, right? Like, and what if it's on your own? If it's someone else, if it's the other side, maybe you can go attack it and destroy it, right? If it's your own side, are they going to let you destroy your own buildings because you don't like it? Like,
I assume there's going to be there for that. The only thing I can picture, because when you were saying what flaws do you see, the first thing I thought is trolls, and so I assume there'll be some kind of a report feature like, hey, report just the building. Look at the screenshot. The building. It's a giant.
Right, I mean, it's a giant penis. This one over here is a giant FU sign. This one over here is just a wall that prevents me from getting out of my town because they built a wall outside. I can't get out. Like, there's a potential.
When you give people, whenever you give people freedom, there's always the potential for trolling and that kind of stuff. People who just don't care, they go in there and they do whatever, right? So it's all going to come to land permissions and all that. The system they have to design around building all that stuff to prevent those negatives from happening. But I don't expect them to be able to predict the creativity of the human trolls, right? I mean, people are just... The human mind is just so diverse, and they're like, oh, that should keep it under control. And then a week later, somebody comes up with a way to troll, right?
Right.
And I think another thing they have to prevent is, like, if depending on how long they make it for, like, how long does this material take to break or something like this, when it comes to siege and everything. If they miss their hand there, if they just don't do it properly, you could essentially make buildings that are almost unbreakable. Right, that you can a wall behind a wall behind a wall behind a wall. So they're going to have to make terrain very terrain is going to influence that. And so if they make a landscape that is too proper for building an indestructible building, then I think that could, like, nobody will attack it, right? So people are just gonna, all right, whatever. I'm just gonna leave that to the side and I'll go. So if there's too many of those locations in the game, it could make RVR too slow. It could discourage people from actually fighting each other just because they see this indestructible structure and they're like, oh, it's going to take like 5 hours to even make a dent on this wall. It's not even worth attacking,
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. The more freedom, it's the same argument we just had a moment ago with the UI. The more freedom you give, the more opportunity there is for something bad to happen. And we like freedom. I just don't want to log in. And instead of looking off in the distance and seeing this awesome skyline and it's a whole just a bunch of dicks just lined up. I don't want to see that. I don't know. We'll see.
It's gonna happen. Maybe not all of them, but
I know now.
Whole skyline. It's a whole forest. Someone's gonna make a forest.
Now that
bushes
you said you don't want to
everywhere.
see it, I'll make it happen, man. I'll hire a team to make a forest of penises.
Just
Someone
jumping.
tactful will build a giant castle
ball.
with the carvings and the
come
wall.
on.
Penises.
We go attack another guild keep in the shape of some big tits, and then on your chat, people are like, "Everybody, go around the tit to the left." Like, I don't want to hear that. Like, I don't know. Who knows? Lots of options, lots of fun stuff. Lots of good stuff. We'll have to see because we don't know very much. We've seen some screenshots. Again, this looks awesome. Just rudimentary, the stuff that people can build. Who knows what's going to happen a year after launch when they have even more tools. We could see some of the cool stuff we've ever seen in game. I don't know. Let me ask you guys, final thoughts. We've talked about new fan sites going up. We got our fan site, BSC UI ideas, and just the very beginning of the building system. Any ideas, closing thoughts, last arguments?
Somebody make an RP profile mod. Just go ahead and do it for me.
Yeah. You don't have to.
I'll probably take a lot of hours in Cube. So
my final idea is just, stay tuned for the new website. Just a reminder to people, we talked about in the beginning of the show, stay tuned for the Realms Unchained website coming up. And, if you want to write articles, if you want to make sure that your opinion is out there, that, if you want to get your word out there, go to the forums, be active in the forums, create recruitment threads for your guilds, discuss, post article on the forums, have people criticize them. We can move them to the website later. There's a lot of possibilities. Let's make this community more awesome than it already is. Let's just, focus on getting together and making sure the Camelot Unchained kicks major behinds in the future.
Figuratively and maybe literally in the game, depending on what they build.
Yeah, depending on what they build in the game, we can kick that.
We'll leave it there, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We will, of course, be back next week, as always, at episode 7. You've been watching the Veilcast. We'll see you next week.